You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Right now at 7, KOAM celebrating some progress with its tower project.
Outside from 7th and Range Line certainly looks like a nice day, but it's going to lead to a fast warm-up. Your first look at the forecast coming up.
Also, how better data is needed to fight a pandemic. All that and more coming up.
Most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Chris Warner. We begin this morning with breaking news out of Joplin, where the former Carnegie Library at 9th and Wall is on fire. The first call for this fire was at 5 a.m. Now, multiple units arrived on scene and reported seeing smoke coming out of the basement of the building. Fire is currently not out. The fire department crews are working on that fire. This is a developing story. We'll have more information at KOAMNewsNow.com and with the KOAM News Now app and as it becomes available through the morning. Joplin fire officials say a man has died from injuries he received in a house fire. The fire happened early Monday morning at 819 West A Street. When fire crews arrived, they found 71-year-old Michael Hayes trapped inside. They got him out and took him to the hospital where he has since died. Fire officials determined the cause of the fire to be a malfunctioning electric fan. Big news for travelers who use the Joplin Airport. SkyWest will continue to provide its Joplin service at least through the end of this year. Earlier this year, SkyWest, which runs United Express flights to Denver and Chicago, announced it would end service to the Joplin Regional Airport in 28 other communities due largely to a pilot shortage. But the city announced Wednesday SkyWest Airlines will keep its current Joplin service throughout 2022. Flights include a daily nonstop morning flight to Chicago and an evening return flight as well as an afternoon flight to and from Denver Thursday through Monday. A Wichita Public Schools teacher and Andover resident who survived the April 29th tornado that tore through part of the town was also one of more than 200 passengers on the Amtrak train that derailed Monday near Minden, Missouri. Reporter TJ Cleland has more.
On April 29th, Alan Galloway and his fiancée were forced to take cover from the Andover tornado. While they were not hurt, they were without power for several days. Now, less than 2 months later, he survived Monday's train wreck in Minden, Missouri.
I'm a little done with that. I don't need a third thing, so.
Alan is a teacher at Linwood Elementary School in Wichita, and he and a handful of other teachers were heading to Chicago for the yearly National Educators Association meeting. But when they were about an hour past Kansas City, the train ride took an unexpected turn.
There was just this huge force of us being thrown forward, thinking for a brief second that we were just stopping really suddenly. And then I could see the car in front of me shifting and rolling over, and that was the next thing that was happening to us. And I remember yelling out, "No, no, no."
The force of the train being rolled over threw the other teachers on top of Galloway, pressed against the glass in the flipped train car. Galloway said the situation could have been a lot worse if it weren't for not only the volunteers or first responders' help, but also for some brave passengers on the train.
There was this one man who, I think he was able to pop one of the side windows open to get people out. Once we were out on top of the train, we started helping other people out through the window and getting down off the train. It all seemed very surreal.
Alan and his fellow teachers are all uninjured from the accident. The NTSB on Wednesday said the train was traveling under the speed limit. On Wednesday, Lazy Boy celebrated the expansion of their new distribution center. The furniture manufacturer held a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Neosho, Missouri to commemorate the expansion project. The president and CEO appreciates Neosho's involvement in the process.
All of our different components that we use and produce in the manufacturing, several of those will go through this facility and be distributed out to different manufacturing facilities throughout the North America that we have.
The company intends to have 5 phases in their expansion project. We had a big celebration here at the TV station on Wednesday. Representatives from 6 area chambers of commerce joined us for a ribbon cutting as KOAM TV and Fox 14 make progress on a project to improve the power and reach of our broadcasting signal. Chambers of commerce from Joplin, Pittsburgh, Carthage, Carl Junction, Neosho, and Grove joined us to celebrate, get an update on the project, and tour our facilities.
Because it's setting us up for future technology. technology is constantly evolving. The way we deliver our news and content to the public's always changing, and the future of our industry is evolving to a new technology, and this new tower is set up for that.
When the antenna and transmitter project is complete, our signal will be stronger than ever. In the meantime, though, the signal might be a bit glitchy for some of you, and we are aware that some of you have lost our signal completely, but we have a big improvement coming soon. We do have an update to the breaking news story we're following out of Joplin at the former Carnegie Library at 9th and Wall. Deputy Fire Chief Andy Nimmo tells us that they've requested mutual aid now from Reddings Mill and Carl Junction. In addition, some of that mutual aid from Carl Junction is to help cover the city in case there's another fire. This fire continues to burn. We do have a crew on the scene, and we'll have additional information as it becomes available. Someone with deep pockets can soon own some art related to the Last Supper. A pair of chalk and pastel studies of Leonardo da Vinci's legendary painting are going up for auction by Sotheby's. The items are the portraits of St. John the Evangelist and St. James, who sat next to Jesus Christ in the artwork. They are expected to go for nearly $140,000 apiece. Studies are attributed to Leonardo's assistant, but experts aren't exactly sure why they were produced. The 25 by 18.5-inch studies were once owned by a 19th century Dutch king and described by Sotheby's as extremely rare. The auction is scheduled for July the 6th. Something not so extremely rare, though, Nick, is the summertime temperatures. They've been rare over the past few days.
Yes, they have.
And now they are coming back into, they're back in stock, we should say. They're back in stock.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Certainly when we look at the jet stream setup to kick off our look at weather, Chris, we're back on the hotter side of the jet. But by the middle of next week, though, this ridge is going to really set us up to bake underneath the hot summer July sun. In the meantime, though, it's holding off on a cold front that'll try to change things up a bit as we head toward the holiday weekend with a little more humidity and maybe some slight rain chances throughout the holiday weekend. But it's not doing anything for us right now. Clear skies from the Skywatch Storm Tracker, and clear as can be pretty much from 7th and Range Line. Currently in Joplin, we're at 68 already with the south wind at 11, dew point at 53. So we're still seeing relatively dry air in place. The same dry air that got us into the upper 50s to mid 60s this morning, which is still where a lot of us are. However, that same dry air mess with a light south breeze during the day, this is a setup where the sun will really heat things up fast. I think we'll all be near 71 by 8 a.m., the top of the hour, 88 by noon, highs near 94. That's for just downtown Joplin and the Joplin area alone. However, you could make the same case for the entire area. Everybody in the upper 80s just about by the noon hour, and then mostly sunny skies pushing almost to 94 degrees for the afternoon. Then as we go into Friday morning, maybe a few clouds to start the morning out, but as that front parks itself near the I-70 corridor to start the weekend out, it starts to pull in more humidity, resulting in partly sunny skies and maybe a random storm or two tomorrow afternoon. But with highs back near 95 and that additional humidity, it's going to feel like 100 again, just about, for your Friday afternoon. This same setup holds through the rest of the holiday weekend, mainly mid-90s Saturday and Sunday, 97 on your 4th of July. Then once it clears out, it's all about that upper ridge, Chris, and that's going to push highs near 100 for Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Not much of a relief from that heat. If that still pans out, maybe 77 by Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I saw that when I was in yesterday. I was looking at those low temperatures, and I was just telling myself, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. We're going to be starting the day close to 80 degrees before we really start to heat up. So
yeah, like those are July numbers we kind of expect, but hopefully with a look at things later on today, hopefully by the noon on KOAM, I can probably slide those numbers down a little bit, but can't escape the summer heat if we're going into July. That's true, and unfortunately, I feel that those numbers are only going to be slid up, or at least remain where they are by the time we get to the noon. Yeah, pretty much. It's summertime. Yeah, it is. You know, what can we do? What can we do? Because we'll be complaining in just a few months when it gets cold again. So it's just the way it is. There's no balance. No balance. Nick, thank you. And of course, we're going to continue to follow the breaking news out of Joplin. Up next, Chef Anthony stepping into the kitchen to make us a dessert that's perfect for today and based on Nick's forecast the next several days. And later, how the president plans to buy more Pfizer vaccines for both children and adults. You're watching KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. In studio, we've got Chef Anthony, who's making this. It's some strawberry ice cream, and of course, that's just in time for summer, and Nick's forecast doesn't look too good, so we're going to need lots of ice cream.
Oh, yes. See, one of my favorites is jalapenos and strawberries. And jalapeno and pineapple ice cream, a little bit of heat, a little bit of sweet. Yeah.
Jalapeno ice cream. Now, that's something different. That is something different that I just might have to try at some point. That sounds interesting.
It's very good. It's easy to do. So we mixed all of our ingredients earlier today, and that is 2 cups of cream, 2 cups of milk, 2/3 of a cup of sugar, flavoring of your choice. We use the Amaretti brand flavorings for everything that I do in my classroom because they are simple, they're clean, they're pure, and you can get all sorts of stuff. They have a jalapeno puree that will flavor anything and it won't freeze hard. They have, for those who drink coffees in the morning, they do a lot of coffee flavorings. So you could put a couple pumps of toasted marshmallow into your coffee in the morning or your hot chocolate, whatever you use to get yourself up and going. So,
not a bad idea.
Anything baking wise, flavorings, they do a pineapple for a pineapple upside down cake. Mix it. Can't beat it. So I mixed all that together, put it in the ice cream machine, let it sit for a couple of hours, and here we go. I froze this one. After I take it out, I always put it in a nice big container and let it freeze overnight before I do anything with it. I think it just comes out a little bit better that way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So,
you want to make sure it's great by the time you eat it. You want it to be good.
Yes, I want those flavors to have a chance to mature. So making homemade ice cream, for those of you who do remember, it does have a little bit of a richer flavor to it because of all the fat from the cream that's inside there, which is definitely a plus. It's always a plus when you can add more flavors.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Fat is flavor. So we're going to go through here, and it's not real hard, but it comes together really nicely. And it's so good. And top it with your favorite fruits. Don't cut the corner with it. Get a little bit of fresh fruit to go right along with it so that you can enjoy every bit of it.
And you're talking about all this fresh fruit. We were just talking about it. I mean, it almost looks like the fake fruit you can buy from the store just because it's so fresh.
This buying fruit like this from Martinez in one of their produce boxes, you get the fruit a few days before it even hits the shelves at Walmart, and then you don't know how long, if Walmart immediately puts it out or any of the other grocery stores, you don't know how fast they get it out.
Right.
So going to the supplier of a lot of those bigger organizations, it makes life real easy for you, and their stuff is really, really good. I love it. I can't get over the fact of everything is always so fresh. Everything always has a clean taste to it, and I've never gotten a bad piece of fruit from them.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so incredible. You can just eat the fruit itself.
Oh, yes, definitely. So what I've done is I've cut up a few strawberries. I cut some chunks that we'll decorate the top with, and I have some slices here, and we'll drop those right down into the sides so that you can see them, and let you see what you think of that.
Okay, all right. This is strawberry homemade ice cream with some strawberries to top it off as I make a big mess here because I'm pretty good at that. Oh my gosh.
It's so good, isn't
That
it?
is phenomenal.
Clean, simple, pure flavors. You don't have to overdo anything. Keeping it light, keeping it clean will produce a really quality product. It's like our Dragon Greens Farms. All of we're hitting Farmers Market for the first time on Saturday, July 2nd. That's this coming Saturday. And all of our greens are grown hydroponically on site by students. And at $2 a dollar for 2 ounces, you cannot go wrong. This stuff is clean, it's crisp, it has flavors like you can't even imagine. There's no hole to it, and everything that we'll have Saturday was being harvested today. So we're going to harvest today, package tomorrow, sell on Saturday. You can't beat that flavor. We're re-innovating the idea of farm to school programming all across the state of Kansas, but we've taken it a step further to where it's not going to have to transport in. So we've cut out the carbon emissions required to get the product there, the fuel costs. We've done all that. It's a student walking across the parking lot.
Nice. Very nice. We've got more with Chef Anthony when we come back. Welcome back. We are here again with Chef Anthony in the studio, who's just made some strawberry ice cream, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've been eating it. It is incredible. I mean, store-bought ice cream does not taste like
Comes
this.
nowhere near close to it.
Nowhere near close.
The taste buds that you have, they found salty, sweet, bitter, and sour. But do you know what the fifth one is? The fifth taste? The fifth taste is umami. That's the perfect taste. And for 80% of Americans, that taste is bacon. 80% of Americans, bacon is their umami flavor. It's the fat that you get. So when you get that flavor, that taste of something in your mouth, and it just kind of covers everything inside of your mouth, and it just tastes so wonderful and perfect, that's umami. So, and that's what you get with this because of using the heavy cream, you get that fat content which just spreads flavors everywhere evenly across your palate.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this does. So if you're not making your own ice cream, you were telling me about if you're out at the store, out at the grocery store looking to buy a tub of ice cream, there are some things that I didn't know that he told me about that he's going to share with you on what you need to look for.
So turn over your ice cream tub, because a lot of us buy the big gallon or 2 gallon tubs that are come in plastic. Turn it over. If you cannot see completely inside of it and see the color and the texture of the ice cream itself, means, or if you see ice crystals in it, put it back, get another one. That means it's been thawed and refrozen. That's that ice cream that you can't scoop right out real soft and simple. Ice cream should scoop just like this did every time. Yeah. Real soft, real easy to use. So look for that when you buy it. Also look for the frost crystals on the outside of it and pick it up. It'd be the last thing you pick up on your way outside the door. You know, a $10 investment into a thermal cooler bag is great for taking home ice cream, taking home milk, cheeses, things like that, because then you can keep them cold all the way. So little things like that will help you when you go to buy when you go grocery shopping, to help you make sure that you buy wise. That's why grocery stores are designed that way. Originally, grocery stores were designed to help push you to the front, from the front of the store to the back, but now it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
so
they have changed.
A lot of smaller grocery stores, you'll find all of your produce will be on one side and then your frozen goods on the other side. So you start on the one side and work your way across it. That's why pet food's almost at the end. And then you move into your frozen goods and then out to checkout.
And that makes sense. And not everybody shops that way, unfortunately.
Not everybody shops that way. And if you have a grocery list, if you're like me and you go buy a grocery list, make sure that you organize your grocery list to make your shopping experience a lot easier. So you'll want to make sure that you get everything that you need on your way through the store in an efficient manner.
Good. You see, and that, like I said, that's something, you know, now I'm thinking about grocery stores I've been to. I've never really paid that much attention to the order things were in. I just knew where I needed to go. But you're right. I also find myself starting at one end, like in frozen, because I'm like, oh, I need ice cream, or, you know, I need a frozen pizza. And I go over there, and then I'm tracking back to the other side of the store. And then, of course, without a thermal bag, I'm piling it all in the back of my car. And with 100-degree heat, it's not doing it any good. Nope. It's practically baked by the time I get home.
Exactly. But make the ice cream at home. Enjoy the time. You can, if you don't have an ice cream maker, you can put this in a bag, in a Ziploc bag, seal it tight, and you can put it in another bag with ice and a little bit of ice and salt into it, and just have the kids start shaking it and keep shaking it until it firms up. It'll take about 45 minutes to an hour, but they can make it without an ice cream machine. So watch your flea markets for the old hand crank ice machines. I've seen a lot of those coming up for sale in flea markets and stuff. People are like, oh, I don't want to turn that hand crank for hours. The kids, you make it a trip with the kids, you make the ice cream, you make them. That's what my mom used to do for us. You want homemade ice cream, you got to sit there and turn that crank. So,
and it's a nice experience for them. So.
It is, and they have fun with it. They bring all their friends over, and then before you know it, you got 10 kids turning the crank on ice cream, and all you had to do is mix up a little bit.
Yeah,
if even that.
And that's a good way to get some good homemade ice cream.
That's right.
Pretty easily, and keep the kids active. Well, Chef Anthony, thank you so much. Again, strawberry ice cream. You can find more information on this on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. We're going to be back with Nick Kelly and some things you need to know about health.
A little food for thought this morning. Scientists say new research on the human brain could actually be a signal to end binge eating. German researchers reported they discovered a signal pathway in the brain that controls food intake. And according to the scientists, a group of nerve cells near the base of the brain helps to control the excitability of nerve cells in the part of the brain that stimulates the need to eat. They found that a particular enzyme plays a critical part in signaling that pathway, and the research team believes an inhibitor for that enzyme could significantly reduce excessive eating after fasting and in those who are obese. They suggest this information could lead to a new approach to treating eating disorders. The Biden administration is reached an agreement to buy 105 million doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. The deal includes options for up to 300 million doses worth up to $3.2 billion. The vaccines are set for delivery by early fall when health experts worry COVID-19 cases could begin spiking again. It comes after weeks of fighting between the administration and Congress on COVID response efforts. The vaccine purchase is being funded by part of the $10 billion that was reallocated from current response efforts, and these are both children and adult vaccines. Using big data to fight the pandemic, and is sleeping good for your heart? Michael George has to look at some of that in today's Top Health Stories.
The American Heart Association says most people need to do more to improve their cardiovascular fitness. A study conducted by the group found only 1 in 5 U.S. adults has optimal heart health. The other 80% would benefit from a better diet, more exercise, or even just more sleep, ideally between 7 and 9 hours a night. A combination of MRIs and genetics may help predict a person's odds of developing Alzheimer's disease. Canadian researchers say an MRI would reveal physical changes in the brain, while genetic testing would indicate how the condition might progress. The study, published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, suggests these steps would be most beneficial to patients experiencing mild cognitive impairment. Better data is needed to effectively fight a pandemic like COVID-19. That's the finding of researchers at Florida Atlantic University. They looked at how state governments handled information about coronavirus testing, infections, and hospitalizations. The researchers found wide disparities in what data was recorded as well as what was shared. They said public health would benefit from better standards and more transparency. That's a look at some of the day's health stories. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Switching back to weather, we're waiting for this cold front to try to change things up a little bit as we get the holiday weekend underway. But as long as it's still well to the northwest of us, that's leaving us alone with clear skies on the Skywatch Storm Tracker and from 7th and Rangeline on this Thursday morning. But that rising sun quickly pushing us to 68 now in Joplin, the south wind at 11. All because of dew points sitting in the lower 50s. That is dry air, still relatively rather dry air, pushing us between 60 and 68 degrees all across the region. But the temperatures today will continue to warm up fast because of the sunshine, the dry air, and that light south breeze of 5 to 10. In fact, 88 by noon, and then topping out near 94 degrees this afternoon. And the same goes for the entire area. Everybody has to deal with mostly sunny skies today. Not that that's a bad thing per se, at least we're quiet for today. But everybody, as a result of that, will see highs pushing back into the mid-90s today. We'll do it again on Friday, but that front nearby, close enough, could give us some isolated storm chances Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on the 4th of July, but we'll stay hot, we'll stay humid, and ultimately back near 100 by Tuesday. Another half-hour news coming up.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:32. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Following breaking news this morning out of Joplin as the old Carnegie Library is on fire. The first call for this fire was at 5 a.m. Multiple units arrived on scene and reported seeing smoke coming out of the basement of the building. Fire is still burning, and fire department crews have requested mutual aid from Reddings Mill and Carl Junction. This is a developing story, and we'll have more details as they become available here on Fox 14, as well as KOAMNewsNow.com and with the KOAM News Now app. If you're ever on the go, as we mentioned, you can follow us with that app. You can also watch our newscast live from anywhere with the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge in your favorite app store, and as well as been on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All you need to do, search for KOAM Plus. Big celebration at the TV station Wednesday afternoon. Representatives from 6 area chambers of commerce joined us for a ribbon cutting as KOAM and Fox 14 make progress on a project to improve the power and reach of our broadcasting signal. Chambers of commerce from Joplin, Pittsburgh, Carthage, Carl Junction, Neosho, and Grove joined us to celebrate, get an update on the project, and tour the facilities.
You know, it's just, this is a fun business to be in, and so it's exciting to be able to do that. Although I should say, I can't take any of the credit. Our chief engineer, Bill Vickery, is the one who really has led the charge on the project and has helped us understand the why, the how, and how it's going to impact not only us, but the community.
Now, when the antenna and transmitter project is complete, our signal will be stronger than ever. In the meantime, though, we know our signal may be a bit glitchy for some of you, and we also know some of you have lost our signal completely, but don't worry, this big improvement is coming soon. On Wednesday, Lazy Boy celebrated the expansion of their new distribution center. Furniture manufacturer held a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Neosho to commemorate the expansion project. President and CEO appreciates Neosho's involvement in the process.
All of our different components that we use and produce in the manufacturing, several of those will go through this facility and be distributed out to different manufacturing facilities throughout the North America that we have.
The company intends to have 5 phases in their expansion project. There may or may not be life on Mars, but this Barbie doll comes from there. Mattel is launching a new version of its flagship fashionista. She's modeled after the look David Bowie sported for the 1971 album Hunky Dory, and yes, that's the album that contains his iconic song Life on Mars. That look wasn't quite as drastic as his Ziggy Stardust attire, which also got its own Barbie 3 years ago. So this time around, Barbie looks more like herself with a red mullet and light blue suit. It does capture the androgynous look for Bowie, that look Bowie that he was famous for. The limited edition Barbie sells for $50 at retailers like Amazon, Walmart, and Target. Nick Kelly is a big fan of the classic era of music. Now, I like David Bowie. I don't want anybody to think that I don't like David Bowie or his music. It's just Nick Kelly is a walking encyclopedia of this stuff.
You know, it's weird that like this topic came up because not too long ago, at least for a couple days in a row, I kept hearing Major Tom on the radio. I was like, that's a really good tune from Bowie, and the music video was a little bit captivating too.
You know, and there was a song that he did that I didn't know about called Starman.
Oh, I need to check that out. I thought you were going to say something like Rebel Rebel.
It was Starman, and I only came across it because the Matt Damon movie, The Martian, which, by the way, phenomenal movie if anybody hasn't seen it. It's kind of long, but man, it is an incredible movie. Anyway, there's a montage in the movie, and they feature his song Starman, and it's really, really good. Anyway.
Well, that brings up to mind, too, some of Journey's early stuff before Steve Perry. They've got some good space-related songs, too, I think from their first album. I'll send you a link later on. But we could keep talking about this until we're blue in the face.
We really could.
But we got to move along. We got to give everybody a weather update here for those that haven't checked in on this this morning. Here's our next cold front that's going to park itself nearby during the holiday weekend. Maybe close enough to give us a few isolated storm chances throughout the entire weekend. But I'm talking about all day or all washout rain chances. But as long as it's still to the north and west of us, we're not seeing anything on the radar network, the Skywatch Storm Tracker, or from 7th and Rangeline. In fact, we're at 68 degrees, south wind at 11, but enough dry air still in place that everybody right now sitting between 60 and the upper 60s. We're going to warm up fast throughout the day. In fact, we'll be near 71 by the top of the hour, 88 by noon. Highs near 94 degrees. Everybody, that is your forecast for today. Then we'll hold on to the mid-90s overall Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That incoming front parks itself nearby, gives us just isolated thunderstorm chances each afternoon. We'll do it again for the 4th with highs near 97 and pushing 100 by the middle of next week. We're back after the break. Taking time now to honor today's four-state hero, and that is Eric Gultra. SBC Gultra served in the Army from August 2006 to June 2007, and again in August of 2009. He served in Iraq with the 67th SIG Battalion, native of Fort Scott, Kansas. We thank you, Eric Gultra, this morning's four-state hero. This morning we are discussing serving in the military, especially that man right there, William Kellerman. I want to get that name correct. A Bronx native expressed how great it feels to finally be recognized for fighting in World War II. In fact, less than 1 month into his tour of duty, on July 4th of 44, He was set to notify his battalion headquarters, but on the way, he was taken by German soldiers as prisoner until one night he escaped on foot. Now, Kellerman traveled 600 miles on bike and made it to the headquarters of the French resistance. He was interrogated for hours, trying to prove he was an American soldier. Thankfully, he redeemed himself by answering who won the World Series back in '43. A no-brainer for the Bronx native since it was New York Yankees. Officials from the U.S. Army say that after his active service ended, the awards he was set to receive, they were never processed. But that brings us to our something to talk about this morning. He actually did finally, after all this time, got those rewards that he rightfully deserves. But something to talk about. Do you have any family members who served in the military? And it is an overwhelming yes, with 97% saying yes, only 3% saying no. You can still chime in by KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, voting in our Insta poll that way, voting through the KOAM News Now app for iOS and Android, and I believe we have this up for discussion on our Facebook page as well. You can chime in with your stories about family members who have served and fought for our country. Switching gears now with the overturn of Roe versus Wade, interest in contraceptives have actually increased dramatically. A Kansas City urologist is reporting that men making inquiries about vasectomies increased by an incredible 900%. Megan Abundis has that story.
I didn't ever envision myself talking about this, but it feels good.
In the shade of his backyard, surrounded by 4-pod furry friends.
You have to give it some serious thought.
Lion Lank doesn't take priceless things for granted.
We just want the basics. We just want to be able to, have this yard, have a choice in what we want our lives to look like.
Like proposing with a family diamond smuggled from Czechoslovakia during the Nazi occupation.
Kels is everything to me. I've never met a more beautiful, kind, caring person.
Which is why he's sharing their decision in lieu of the abortion ban.
Because the power of people don't stop.
Here we are having to think the unthinkable.
And after weighing his fiance's medical history,
we've talked about me getting a vasectomy. I've got to contemplate doing what could potentially be a life-saving procedure for the person I love most. It's not a decision I make lightly, I'll say that.
One of our office managers said, "Get ready."
Dr. Christian Hettinger is a urologist at KCUC. There's about 24 clinics across the metro.
Since Friday, we're up 900% in people looking to get a vasectomy.
The demand for vasectomy consults drastically increasing across both states. Here's the numbers for just one clinic.
Typically, it's about 3 over a weekend, and over this past weekend, it was 50 that came through looking for vasectomies.
It's not right for everybody.
It should be viewed as a permanent form of sterilization. So it's not something that's a good temporary fix, if you will. It's not something I would plan to have done and then reversed in the future.
Lank says he knows the mass of his decision, has done the research, and talked to his family and friends.
Either I get this or we risk her, being denied a procedure down the line. And that's unacceptable to me. So it's not a sacrifice. It's the right thing to do.
And we'll be back with Chris Warner and a look at consumer news after this.
Spirit Airlines has postponed a shareholder vote on a proposed merger with Frontier Airlines until July 8th. The vote had been scheduled for today after a previous delay. Spirit says it plans to use the time to keep talking to Frontier and rival bidder JetBlue Airways. Wherever Spirit lands could determine the choices travelers have when shopping for lower fares. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is warning that there's no guarantee the central bank can tame inflation without hurting the U.S. job market. Speaking at a forum in Portugal, Powell said he's still hoping the economy will make a so-called soft landing. He and Fed governors are aiming for that by raising interest rates enough to tamp down inflation, but without causing a recession and increasing the jobless rate. Powell says Russia's war on Ukraine has made that a more difficult task by disrupting commerce and driving up prices for essentials like food and energy. We'll be back with more after this, but first we're going to take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
It's a case of a cat owner catnapping the wrong cat. Would you mistake someone else's cat for your own? More on this interesting story from Ginny Moose.
It's the confession of a cat burglar.
I stole someone's cat.
Actually, the cat is a victim of mistaken identity. Kelly McCann's cat, George, escaped the other day, but Kelly thought she spied him as she drove up to her house in Ontario, Canada.
I was like, George, and the cat came right up to me. I couldn't even believe it. That's why I was like, get in the car. And I'm like yelling at the car. I'm like, how did you get out? And the cat's like, meow.
But when she entered her house, well, we'll let the video that went viral take it from here.
George, I thought you were on the loose. I have a cat in my car. Look.
George didn't look, but millions on TikTok did.
I stole someone's cat. That's not George.
Advice poured in. Put him back where you found him. How can people not recognize their own cat, though? Well, they do look similar. In a second TikTok video,
Hi, Mr. Cat. Hey, BB.
Kelly released him right around where she found him. He seems to be an outdoor cat that she still occasionally sees in her small community of townhouses. Owner unknown. As for that video, there are almost as many comments on your laugh as on the cat mix-up.
Yeah,
Did I hear it there for a moment?
Yeah.
Someone called it the unhinged cackle. The Elmo laugh sent me. Posted another, why your laugh was like Ariana Grande's. To us it sounds like the cat got her tongue and was pulling on it. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Okay, we're switching gears. We're heading back to the forecast here. We are no doubt back on the hotter side of the jet, but on the plus side, it's preventing this front from changing things up for today at least. This might be a different story on the holiday weekend, but as long as it's far to the northwest of us, we're sitting underneath quiet skies as we get your Thursday morning still underway. And everyone's looking good with mostly sunny skies up top, 68 in Joplin, the south wind at 11. Dew point sitting in the lower 50s, still relatively dry air mass, which means everyone will go from about 60 to 68 degrees this morning and just continuing to warm up fast throughout the course of the day as long as that breeze stays light out of the south at 5 to 10. 71 by 8 a.m., 88 by noon. Joplin, the area topping out around 94 degrees, including downtown, but you can make the argument for the entire area with plenty of sunshine. This relatively dry air mass and a light south breeze will all be close to the upper 80s by the noon hour and pushing about 92, 93, 94 this afternoon. But that coming front from the north comes closer to start Friday out, maybe mostly clear skies for the morning. But as the front comes on in, pulls in some more humidity to give us an isolated storm or two. But mid-90s for the highs, humidity pushing us near 100. And we'll break down the rest of the holiday weekend with one last look at the 7-day coming up.
Supreme Court today as its newest Associate Justice. She will be the first black woman to sit on the nation's highest court. Retiring Justice Stephen Breyer will administer the judicial oath to his former law clerk. Before the ceremony, the Supreme Court is expected to deliver its final 2 opinions of the year. Biden administration is purchasing more than 100 million doses of Pfizer's vaccine for a possible booster campaign this fall. The $3.2 billion deal includes shots for both adults and children and gives the White House the option to buy hundreds of millions of additional doses if necessary. The FDA is currently deciding on whether to authorize a new version of the vaccines to better protect against the Omicron variant. And former R&B star R. Kelly said he will likely spend much of the rest of his life behind bars after a federal judge sentenced the 55-year-old to 30 years in prison for racketeering and sex trafficking. Some of his victims say they weren't sure justice would ever be served, but the ruling renewed their faith in the judicial system. Kelly's legal team plans to appeal his conviction. And again, we are continuing to follow breaking news out of Joplin. The former Carnegie Library, 9th and Wall, has caught fire this morning, the latest on our website and with the KOAM News Now app.
And hopefully with more updates coming up at noon.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, one last look at the 7-day. Has to staying quiet for today, but turning hot with highs near 94 and staying in the mid-90s for much of the holiday weekend, with the exception of 97 on the 4th. Slight thunderstorm chances each afternoon and early evening. I'm not worried about widespread rain, washout rain chances rather, but once we get past the holiday weekend, Got to push highs near 100, Chris.
Oh, those 100-degree highs. Well, hey, it's a special day for Apple. The iPhone turning 15 years old. Apple co-founder Steve Jobs first introduced the iPhone in January of 2007. iPhones went on sale in the United States on June 29th that same year. They were priced between $499 and $599. 74 days from launch, Apple sold 1 million iPhones. Today, iPhones are arguably the most popular smartphones in the world. Apple is expected to unveil its iPhone 14 series this fall.
I remember watching that keynote, and it was a big deal then. It's amazing how it is still a big deal to this day.
Yeah, iPhones are a big deal, and like you said, even to this day, you know, they're almost like a symbol of status. They're a status symbol.
In a way, sure, yeah. In the meantime, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon on KOAM.
So have a great morning and an even better day.